Okay, it's following morning now, and we're still in Navarro. We're stayed overnight. We just dropped anchor, but I went ahead this morning and I came up to the boat dock, boat ramp here to go use the bathrooms and clean up and have breakfast tied up here. Made it a little bit easier than where I was at, where I dropped anchor. Wasn't sure about the tides, but it, pretty nice little place. Winds calmed down. Everything went pretty nice last night. Slept good. Uh, kind of looked at my plan. Weather's supposed to be pretty good. Uh, I don't know how far I'm going to travel today because I'm low on fuel. So I'm going to have to pick up fuel somewhere. I did find a small marina not too far from here uh, that apparently has fuel at a good price. So I decided I'll go there and get a feeling for what it's like to whether to stay there or keep traveling. So it's kind of a short day, not a very long day today. Like I said, the marina's not too far away. I'm going to go ahead and pick up fuel there, and the marina itself is quite a bit in a creek where you have to go into out of an inlet out of here, and the creek doesn't look uh, too deep, but it is marked with channel markers, so should be able to go in there and make it to the small little marina. I did talk to the dock master there this morning about picking up fuel. He says, yeah, they got plenty of fuel, and like I said, it was a pretty good price. So we're gonna head out there and then decide from there what I want to do, whether we're gonna take off again or not. I probably got maybe 2 more days, maybe up to 3 more days to get to Carabelle. But finally got here to the little marina here, and I did pick up fuel. Actually, when I got here, they were waiting for the truck. Uh, Apparently, they ran out of fuel. So they were waiting for the truck to come in and refill, and they said it'd be here within about an hour or so. Um, I asked them about it, and it was a very small marina, so it's hard to get a slip here. But the dock master told me, he says, listen, there's a, since your boat doesn't draw a whole lot of water, there's a little spot here where you can come into right by the docks or by the boat ramp. If you can fit in there and not hit bottom, you can just go ahead and stay there for free. Won't charge you to stay there. So that was good. That made me decide to go ahead and stay here. Uh, that building up there, that two-story building, was a restaurant and pretty good. Uh, Pretty well-known restaurant around the area here. They had live music last night and everything else. This is the following morning as I was taking off. I had picked up the fuel, and there's the creek I was telling you about, and I just had to kind of just stay in the channel because it was pretty shallow. So I made it up to the channel uh, where I was able to pick up the river or the intercoastal again. Uh, this is not, it wasn't much of a marina. Like I said, it's just a small little, probably 30, 40 slips that were available, and he was pretty much full. He said they stay full pretty much all year long uh, as permanent boats. But like I said, I was able to sneak into a dock which is right next to the boat ramp, and tie up on the outside of the boat ramp and stay there overnight. And it was nice of him because he didn't even charge me. And I even hooked up to electric power there, so he didn't even charge me for hooking up or staying there overnight. Uh, it was on I think it was Friday, and I didn't want to travel on the weekends, mainly because of, there's a lot of boaters out there. So I decided, well, I could, since he said I could stay here uh, for as long as I wanted to for free, I decided to go ahead and spend a couple of days. I did stay here Saturday and Sunday and left Monday morning. I'm leaving Monday morning, uh, just so I wouldn't run into the weekend traffic. Because as long as there's a good day out there, weekend traffic gets pretty rough. There's a lot of boaters out there, and I'd rather not have to deal with that. I'd rather travel during the week where it's nice and slow, uh, no big issues. This is a beautiful area where I was at here, and like I said, this is part of it's well, they call it a creek. It looks more like a river or a finger of a river than it does a creek, but it's pretty shallow. So they kept reminding me that I have to stay in the channel. If not, I would run aground. Uh, but all in all, a couple of days here, was able to rest. Uh, I still, like I said, I still probably got maybe a day, maybe 2 days. Better off maybe 2 days, depending on how much I travel to get to be able to get to Carabelle, uh, Florida, and that's actually the end of the intercoastal for the Florida. It ends there, and then when you get to Carabelle, is where you make a decision. Now, a lot of the big boats have the range to go across the Gulf of Mexico, and they'll go into Tarpon Springs. Uh, but they'll spend an overnight out on the Gulf, anchored off. So I didn't want to do that. I don't want to. One, I don't have the fuel range to do that. So instead of going all the way out to make that run, or figure a way to get fuel and make that crossing and have to stay out in the Gulf somewhere overnight, uh, I just didn't want to do that. I didn't want to take the chance. I figure I'm better off to go ahead and go across from Carabelle, shoot straight across to a place called Statahatchee, Florida. Uh, so they don't get a whole lot of uh, people doing the Great Loop going there. Mainly, it shows on the map that there is a couple marinas, a few marinas there, old marinas. Uh, so that was one of the ways. That was one of the places I was thinking that I would go ahead and do once I got to Statahatchee. But anyway, here I am. I took off and made it. Here I am in Pensacola now. Uh, I didn't really stop here in Pensacola. It was just a short run from where I was at to here to Pensacola. But what I did is right across the street here, that little place here. There's right across the street was a little restaurant, and decided to go in there for lunch. Come back, get back on the boat, and take off again. Uh, Wind was a little hard, but no big deal. So I went ahead and had lunch there in Pensacola and took off again. And I figured, well, I'll go ahead and just travel as far as I can for the day. And I was able to come up to this place here. This place here is that's a restaurant. They were closed the day I was here, but this place is actually just a gas station that happens to have docks behind it. And the people that own the gas station happen to own the docks also behind here. And they also have like a bait shop. Uh, built over here by where the docks are, and they sell fuel. So I figured, hey, this will be a great spot to go ahead and just fill up my tank, because normally if I travel for one day, I empty out one tank. So what I've been able to do is fill up, at least keep one tank full while I'm traveling, and then when I get to a spot somewhere where I'm down to, and I'm using the second tank already, that's when I decide to go ahead and pick up fuel and fill up the other tank until the other one empties out. So I was able to. They had a good price, mainly because of the gas station. The price, they had the same price that you normally would buy fuel from a gas station. So I decided to take advantage of that. I filled up that one tank that I needed to get full, and then I had an extra 5 gallon tank. Decided, or a 5 gallon uh, uh, portable tank that I carried with me. So I decided to fill that up since the prices were pretty good, and this is where I spent the night. So I also stayed here overnight. Uh, Pretty nice, nice and quiet. Didn't have any problems here. Tied up, and here's the following morning. I'm just already picked up my fuel. Stayed here overnight. Uh, the guy here, the owner here, was pretty nice. I asked him about where I could go to grab something to eat, and he said it's within walking distance, but he actually let me take his truck. He says, "No, here, take my truck right here," and so that was pretty nice of him. Let me use his truck to run down and grab something to eat. There was a Chinese place, so I went there and had Chinese food. Uh, Nice little place, nice little town also here, and pretty friendly. You know, uh, like I said, the guy was kind enough to let me use his truck to go instead of walking. Uh, and I didn't go very far. I could have walked. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal. I could have walked. It was a it would have been maybe half a mile walk, but uh, I figured, well, since he said I could go ahead and use the pickup truck, I went ahead and took the truck. But here's the next morning, and I'm leaving. You can see that little shack that they built there on the docks. That's where you pick up the fuel, and also it's a bait shop in there, and sell all kinds of stuff in there. So just like a regular bait shop would do. Uh, and then this is actually just a small little inlet off the main intercoastal here. As you can see, I'm heading out now, and that's gonna, as soon as I get past this little inlet there that you're seeing at in front of me, then I'll be back in the channel, back on the intercoastal. And like I said, I'm gonna shoot to try and get to Carabelle uh, pretty soon. This is the second day of me running. Uh, I've just don't record it all because a lot of it is the same thing. Just kind of traveling up and down. Nice scenery. Here we are back into the intercoastal, and this is still what they call the swamp, or the ditch, the Florida ditch, as they want to call it, or the swamp. Uh, it's pretty nice. It's a nice little trip because there's land on both sides. The water was pretty calm, and that kind of protects the ditch here, the waterway here. So I enjoyed it. Nice and quiet. Ran into as you can see in front of me there here, I ran into another boater that's also on the Great Loop. Uh, and I'll be passing him here shortly because I'm going a little bit faster than he was. Uh, I have to, like I said, I have to keep a constant speed because I'm running a two-stroke outboard and can't run too slow because then I'll foul out my plugs. But so far, it's been working out pretty good. The boat, it's a 90 horse Evinrude E-Tech 2009 model, and it's been running like a champ from the day one that I left Tampa. And for the exception of that one problem I had in Wisconsin where the lower unit went out on me, everything else has been running good. I'm actually pretty surprised. By the time I get done doing the loop, I would have traveled 5,500 miles. So it's a lot of miles for a two-stroke outboard, but hey, made me a believer. I love these Evinroots. Uh, Never had a speck of problems and didn't have to worry about doing oil changes. And the one thing is, most other outboards have 100-hour maintenance that you have to be doing to these boats, whereas this one here, uh, the E-Techs have a 300-hour before you have to do any maintenance on it. So that worked out pretty nice. I only end up having to do, I think since I started the trip, I did one, two, let me see, I did one, I know I did one in Wisconsin, a 300-hour. And then this other one is, I did another 300 hours somewhere along, trying to think where I did it, but I did do two 300-hour maintenance where basically they just check the lower unit, put a new impeller, put new oil gear in the lower unit. They did change out the plugs. They put out new spark plugs, put a new fuel filter, a new oil filter, a new thermostat also. It averaged about $350 or something like that for the maintenance. So to run an outboard, for 300 hours, and basically it'll cost you $100 an hour or per 100 hours. That's pretty good. Uh, it's one of the motors that has least maintenance to do than any other boat, uh, and because it's a two-stroke, it's got less parts, less things that could go wrong. But it made me a true believer. They're not as quiet as a four-stroke, but they're not as loud as the old two-strokes used to be. They're still pretty nice. But anyway, here we go, and I went ahead and passed that other boat. And they were also on their way to Carabelle, so that was going to be their next stop. Uh, they are probably going to have to travel maybe all night to get to Carabelle. I'm hoping to get there later on today. If not, I'll just pull over somewhere or tie up at a dock somewhere. But I'm still not. I'm almost there. I'm not that far away from Carabelle. As you can see, there's the boat again that I just passed. I kind of slowed down because I got on the radio. They were talking to me, asking me how my trip was going and all of this. So I got on the radio with them, talked to them for a little bit, and that's why I kind of slowed down. Uh, they wanted to take a picture of my boat because they have a friend that that just bought a 22-foot cdory, and this couple here wanted to take a picture of my boat doing the Great Loop and send it to their friends and let them and show them that his boat that he just bought couldn't make the Great Loop. And like I said, I'm almost done. Once I get to Carabelle, just cross the Gulf part right here, and I'm home free. I do have to go all the way almost to Tarpon Springs to get back into the intercoastal. So once I leave Carabelle, I'll be uh, going through navigating the Gulf. Although there's a lot of small little places that I could sneak into as I'm going down the Gulf, heading south on the Gulf, that I can sneak into in case the weather turns bad. I basically just check the weather, and as long as the weather's good, I take off. And I've had a few times that I've had to stop and stay a day or two more than I wanted to for that reason, but it's nothing that's that's not doable. Even the bigger boats do the same thing. If they check the weather and it doesn't look good, uh, they do the same thing. They don't take off either. Uh, I made it here to this little park right here. Uh, Decided to go ahead and just tie up and have lunch here. I had lunch on board. Uh, I didn't go in, I mean, there wasn't anywhere to go to anyway. It was just a little state park here that had brand new docks that they were still working on, so you couldn't even tie up to there, but I was able to tie up here. And it was posted no overnight docking. Uh, but happened to be two guys that work for the parks department, and they were fixing something in one of the pavilions, and they happened to mention to me, he says, well, if you want, you can go ahead and stay. Nobody will really say anything, uh, whether you stay or not. But it was still pretty early. So they did have facilities. I was able to go down uh, to the toilets and use the bathrooms and clean up a little bit, and then take off again. So I didn't stay. I did have lunch, and it's a nice little park, very interesting uh, park where eventually they said eventually when they finish it, it's going to be pretty nice. There's going to be a lot of new stuff all over the place here. They said it you could still see there's a lot of little things that were still under construction that they were going to build. Uh, but for right now, there was a couple of people fishing off the docks. And for right now, it suited my purpose. Uh, just gave me a place to tie up and eat. That's all I really needed. I figured I was going to keep traveling right after this. I decided not to stay, so decided to go ahead and move on, and I did. Uh, um, I'll be leaving here shortly here, and like I said, hopefully I'll be in Carabelle. That's my target. Uh, Trying to see whether we're gonna be able to make it into Carabelle, and that'll be the end of the intercoastal when I get there, and then I'll have to go out into open water. Not really a big thing uh, compared to there were certain places that I knew I was going to have to go across uh, to stay out of to make the trip. Crossing, I think, the lakes, uh, going from one end of Lake Erie to the other end of Lake Erie, and then going down through Detroit River and into Lake St. Clair, and then going into Lake Huron all the way from one end of to the top end of Lake Huron, uh, and that's where I would hook up to Lake Michigan, and then of course I'm on top of Lake Michigan. Then I have to go all the way south to the bottom part of Lake Michigan to get into Chicago, and there is where I would get into when I got to Chicago. That's when I would get into the Illinois River, and uh, that would be the end of the lakes. That was the end of the lakes, and being in the rivers and the channel and all the lakes, the small lakes and rivers from Chicago all the way down to Mobile was pretty nice adventure. Pretty smooth as far as the waterways. Everything was pretty nice. All the waterways were really not a big deal. Even sometimes when the weather or when the wind was blowing pretty good, it didn't affect the rivers that much. Uh, there was a couple places where the rivers were pretty wide that I had to kind of watch out for, but other than that, it was a nice adventure. Uh, this is what's going to be the big crossing, I guess. Uh, will be when I cross into the Gulf, and just watch the weather. That's all there is to it. No big deal. You can basically cross wherever you can go wherever you want as long as the water is nice and calm. Doesn't matter. There's people that have crossed the Atlantic in small little rowboats, so no reason why we shouldn't be able to cross the Gulf. Uh, but as we're going down the ditch here, you can see, very beautiful on both sides. This is pretty much the way I traveled the whole time. It wasn't uh, it wasn't bad. It was beautiful scenery. For those who like that kind of scenery, it's beautiful. Uh, Here I am, tied up to a dock here, where I just stayed again. Uh, I'm trying to think what this little place was. It was almost close to Carabell, to the point where I decided maybe I'll stay here overnight. And I walked into the town here and grabbed me a couple something to eat here for lunch. And then I decided to go ahead, and I did stay overnight there. And the next morning I took off. It was kind of drizzling and raining, but the winds were not bad. And here I am coming into Carabelle. And here, because of the rain, I decided to go ahead and stay a couple days. The weather uh, was not as good as I wanted it to be. It was going to be some pretty nice strong winds and rain. I don't know how heavy the rain was going to be, but they did say it was going to be raining. So I've decided to go ahead and come into Carabelle here and spend a couple of days, and wait for better weather before I do the crossing to uh, make the crossing across to Stachahachie out in the Gulf. But well, this pretty much is the end of it here. As soon as I tie up here, I'll be here for a couple of days, and then hopefully the weather will get better, and I'll be able to make that crossing. Almost home. Uh, I can. Uh, Geez, it's just starting to realize that, hey, I'm finally gonna finish, and I'm gonna be able to say that I completed the Great Loop. Um, like I said, there was earlier I mentioned that there's about 300 people that try the loop every year, according to the American Loop Association. Uh, 300 people try it a year. About 100 of them actually do it. So I'm gonna hopefully be one of those 100 that does finish. Right now, I really don't see how I wouldn't finish unless I had some major problems. But anyway, here we are in Carabelle. We're tying up, and then we'll be here for a couple of days.